Da, da, da. Oh wow, look at these. Mizuno Neo Zen. Yeah, I'm not sure what I think of the look of it. I mean, it looks okay. Maybe not my favourite, but passable. But it's not about looks, it's about how it performs. So I guess I'll be taking it on a run tomorrow, an easy day run, where I'll do a 10-mile easy, and we'll see how these get on. Heard they're very soft, maybe a bit too soft, but we'll see. I'll take them out tomorrow and we'll find out. Anyway, I'm quite excited. Anyway, see you later. Bye-bye. Hi everyone, it's Ed from Runnable, and today we have a new shoe day. So you might have seen on my unboxing already that we have the Mizuno Neo Zen in the house. So I took this shoe on a 10-mile run earlier today, and in this video I'm going to explain how that run went, what I liked about the shoe, what I didn't like about the shoe, who I think the shoe is for, who I don't think this shoe is for, who should avoid this shoe, and finally some comparisons with other shoes in this kind of bracket. But before we do the review, I'm going to show you some run footage, so you can watch that next. If you want to skip that, use the chapters and you can go straight to the review. But ideally watch the run footage, and that'll give you more of my thoughts actually as I run in these, but that's totally up to you. I'll see you in a bit. Bye bye. Hi everyone, it's Ed from Runnable. It's Wednesday morning and I'm going to do a 10-miler today, so I might have to do a bit in the afternoon again. Fortunately, again, didn't get up in time. It's pretty hard this time of year. But I have got a new shoe, and I'm looking for one I'm really looking forward to running in. It's one that I've read a few reviews about, very mixed. Some call it an energy sapper. Others say that it's too soft and mushy, while others say that it's got a brilliant foam that is really nice and bouncy and responsive. I'm guessing it, you know, given how reviewers over exaggerate everything, I'm guessing it's somewhere in between, right? So I'm guessing that it's going to be a nice soft ride that is with a bit of a bounce, a good foam. And you suppose you want to know what the shoe is, won't you? It is the Mizuno Neo Zen. Let me just show you. Here we go. There we go. That's the shoe. Yeah, and really looking forward to trying this one out. I've just run down the road in it. So walking feel, you can tell how soft it is. Just run down my road, which is fairly steep decline, and it was nice. It felt really nice and bouncy, cushioned without being too mushy, so that was a good sign. And what I liked about it as well is I got a bit of foot feel. You know, when you nowadays when the foam's a little bit firmer, like say the Super Blast, and you run in that shoe, you don't really feel like you're working your toes at all. With this shoe, because it's softer, you do feel like your toes are getting some action there, right? And I think so it could be a good one for strengthening your toes, but those with toe mobility issues might disagree. It might not be so good. I think we've all got used to certain foams, and when something comes along that's really soft, the initial thought is it's too soft, but actually the more you run in a soft shoe like this, the more you can kind of get used to it, as long as you don't have stability issues and ankle issues and that kind of thing. And that's the thing I'll try and work out here today, whether it's suitable for those people. My guess is probably not, but we'll see. Anyway, enough talking, need to get on. See you later, bye. Right, so I mean, they're not wrong when they say this is a soft shoe. It's really nice, this foam, really nice and soft. So if you like soft bouncy foam, you're going to love this shoe. I'm up on my forefoot at the moment and it feels great, and yeah, straight away I'm liking this shoe. This is my kind of shoe. I feel like it's soft, but for me, because I'm landing further forward, hey, you're right, I feel like it's actually okay in terms of it's not making me feel like it's incredibly unstable or anything like that. I like it. I like the feel of the bounce. Let's go through the shoe. So upper, my initial feelings on the upper is that it feels really nice. It's one of these booty knit all-in-one uppers, sock-like upper. It doesn't come quite as high up as the Neo Vista, but very similar to the Neo Vista. So if you like the Neo Vista, you'll like this one. I think it's got slightly more breathable in terms of aeration. It's got more holes. You can see that just looking at these. So that's a good thing, because a lot of people complained about the Neo Vista being too hot. I'm going up a hill at the moment and it feels fine. So yeah, with the upper, going back to the upper a minute, it's quite a stretchy material, like a woven knit material. It stretches, so you get some give. So with me, with a wideish foot, it's quite good. It's a fairly wide-ish forefoot. I mean, I would say probably medium. It's definitely not narrow, so that's good for me. And as I said, because my foot's slightly wider, it kind of expands and feels really nice around my foot. I got a good block down. I'm not feeling any slippage, heel slippage or anything like that, which is good. There isn't much padding around the collar or the counter heel, so you would think that might be an issue with heel slippage, but it's not. It grips well, grips my foot well, so that's good. What I will say though is right, going downhill now. Let's see how it goes on slippy downhill. We'll talk about the outsole in a minute once I've done this. So what I would say is I went down half a size, and that was based on some reviews, but also the Neo Vista, which I found ran a bit long, and so I'm gone to 8.5 in this shoe. I'm normally 9, and I think that was a very, very wise move. So I'm feeling like this runs long as well, and I think the fact that I went down half a size is really helping with the lockdown, because with these booty knit uppers, if you don't get the sizing right, it can be a real problem. So I think definitely consider going down half a size. So I just went down that hill and it was fine actually. So let's talk about outsole a little bit. So the outsole is that soft rubber that you get in the Neo Vista. Talk a bit more about it in the proper review. So the Neo Vista I found wasn't the grippiest of shoes, but it wasn't bad. It's kind of level above Super Blast, Nova Blast, but levels below Puma grip and Continental. So it's not bad, but it's not what I would say is amazing. What you don't have with this shoe that you have with the Neo Vista though is that cutout. So those that found that cutout problem, maybe the heavier runners where it splayed too much and it felt like it was sucking the ground too much, maybe you'll like this one better. It's got running down the middle, it's where the cutout was, it's got foam that's a bit exposed, so that itself might be an issue, taking these on trails with sharp rocks and stuff like that. So something to bear in mind. Right, I'm going to go and do some strides in this year. I've done a hill and that's fine. Let's see how this moves. Okay. Okay, so I think that was about 100 meters at my 5k pace, and that was absolutely fine. So again, those that said that this was a shoe that you can't go fast in, I'm not finding that. That was lovely actually. What I would say, just to warn you, is I'm 4-foot striker and I'm reasonably light, so I'm up on my 4-foot there and it feels fine. But if I'm running on my heel, which I'm going to try now, okay, not terrible actually. So not like the Pro 4, I'm not getting any weird suction or anything like that. Feels not too bad. So it could be okay for heel strikers. I think maybe it's how heavy you are that's going to be the issue here, because I think for me I'm compressing the foam and I'm getting decent decompression. Not mega bounce, but a nice kind of ping. Whereas if you're really heavy, you might not get that. You might sink too far into the foam. So something to bear in mind. But heel on my heels, then it didn't feel that bad. Didn't feel that unstable really. Maybe a bit more unstable, but I'm trying it again now. Maybe a bit more unstable, but not much. So, if we talk about the foam and this all a minute. So the shoe itself feels very light. I'd like to weigh this, but for a daily trainer, this feels incredibly light. This feels like one of the lightest daily trainers I've ever used. It feels lighter than Superblast. Looks like it's got a decent amount of foam on it. Not massive, like super max cushion, but somewhere probably around the 40mm mark. If I was to guess drop, I'm guessing 6 or 7mm. We'll check that out later. But the main thing is how soft but nice the foam is here. So again, Mizuno, I've come up trumps with this foam. Really is nice. It's such a light foam. It's not bottom heavy at all. So those that have run in denser foams like the old Light Stripe Pro, you'll know that occasionally it's good foam, firm and responsive, but it can feel a bit bottom heavy sometimes. It's the opposite with this, whereas this is very light, not quite as responsive, but lovely and cushioned still. So I'm thinking already this is going to be a great shoe for those easy longer runs when your legs feel tired. But if you want to throw some strides in like I did, it can handle the pace, and it handled it easily. So it's a bit of an all-rounder, this shoe. So the caveats are obviously, do you have stability issues? Because I think you're going to want something a bit firmer if you do. This is a neutral shoe, definitely not neutral stable, neutral, and I'm not feeling any high sidewalls or anything like that. As I look down at my feet, it's got a bit of a sole flare on the medial side, so those that pronate, it's got a bit of extra foam in the forefoot for you, so that when you land on your forefoot, you've got a bit more landing area on the side that you need it. I'm on the other side, so I supinate a bit more. There's less of a sole flare on that side. So actually, for those that pronate, there's a bit of help there, which could be important for some of you, because this is so soft. It could be important. It's definitely not, you don't get a grounded feel with this shoe, but like I said before, I think you feel like your toes are working in it. So because it's so soft, it feels like my toes are working with the foam. And that's hard to describe, but often with the harder foams, like denser foams, like the Light Strike Pro, like the FF Turbo, you don't feel like your toes are getting much of a workout because the foam won't let them do much. In this shoe, I feel like, getting a nice little toe spring using my toe muscles here, which again is a good thing, right? I think so. So first impressions is I'm liking this shoe a lot. Soft and overblast, not stable. How it performs over a really long run, it may bottom out, whereas an overblast I'd be a bit more confident it wouldn't, but it's less soft. But it's a lovely foam to run in. So Mizuno have got something here. I think it's called NZ Next or NXT foam, and I'm willing to bet you this will be the foam in the next Neo Vista. I heard someone say, why didn't they put a plate in this one? I think basically they did that. They'll be turning this into the Neo Vista number 2. They want to separate the two shoes out. So this is your non-plated Mizuno Daily Trainer, and your Neo Vista and Neo Vista 2, whenever that comes, will have this foam, but with one of those nylon plates and more foam. I'm thinking they could go a bit crazy with it, 45mm foam, that kind of thing, and with a plate to stabilise it, and if it's winged it might well work. But it's definitely a nicer foam than that supercritical EVA that's in the Neo Vista. I've heard this is a TPU compound, so it's a different foam altogether, and it feels it. So those that are thinking it's going to be a similar feel to the Neo Vista, it's not. It's softer, it's a bit more compliant, and I think a bit nicer, to be honest. I like the Neo Vista, but I don't think the foam's the best part of it. I think the geometry works for me, that shoe. And I don't really think the plate does much in that shoe anyway, apart from stabilise the foam. And I think it's going to be needed even more if they use this foam in it, being so soft. I'm guessing that's why this must be around the 40mm mark, because it hasn't got a plate. I think they'd be a bit worried about stability if they went any higher than that. So I guess to summarise, this is a really nice, pleasant ride. Nice soft foam, I'm really liking it. This is a shoe I'll definitely put on when my legs are a bit beaten up, like they are today after 20 miles yesterday. And I'm happy with this purchase already. Means I've got 3 shoes now, more V5 Nova Blast than this one that I can put on when my legs are knackered, and this will do the job of helping them out. And I've heard the Elos SL2, sorry I forgot which number it was, but it's supposed to be really good as well, although it's supposed to be a bit firmer than this. So, because it's got the like Stripe Pro that's in the Adidas Pro 3, I think, but it's got no plate. It's got a slab of that foam. I'm not seeing that really as a competitor with this one. I see that more as a competitor with the Super Blast and maybe Mac X2 and that kind of shoe, where you want to go faster for longer. So that's about it for me now. I'll see you later. Bye bye. Hi everyone, it's Ed from Runnable, and this is my review of the Mizuno Neo Zen. So this is a daily trainer for Mizuno. Literally just got this through the door. Bought this with my own money, so this is an unbiased, as always, review. Nobody's had a chance to change my opinion of this shoe, and you're going to find out my opinion of this shoe right now. But just before we do that, let's just go through some stats. So this is actually quite a light shoe for a daily trainer. It weighs in at 237 in my UK size 8.5. Now that's important. I went down half a size, and I went down half a size for a couple of reasons. One, I'd read some reviews that they run long, and I think having gone down half a size and tried them on, I think that is the case. This fits me like a 9 would in many other shoe brands. So I think they run long. So I would bear that in mind. And equally, you have to remember this is like a knit upper. And if you don't get the sizing quite right, that can be quite awkward. You can get some fairly severe heel slippage if it's not secure around your foot. So it's better to be a little bit tighter, I think, because this nice soft stretchy fabric will mold to your foot shape. So it's better to go slightly down in size to make sure that this is quite tight around your foot, so that you don't get a lot of foot movement in this shoe. Otherwise you could have some issues. So for me, 8.5 worked, and I've got plenty of room still at the bottom. I've got a good thumb's width of room at the bottom of this shoe. So that's the weight and the fit. In terms of stack height, so I've got 40mm in the heel, 34 in the forefoot, giving a 6mm drop. So I've got quite a nice wedge of foam under the forefoot where I land. And there's a lot of foam in the heel, obviously, for you heel strikers. It's a soft foam, and we're going to talk about the midsole in a minute, but it's a soft foam, so it does, the stack height does actually feel lower than the 40mm. I think because you sink down into the foam a little bit. And this is a huge topic of conversation with this shoe in terms of how soft this midsole is. So we'll talk about that. That's going to take quite a bit of my time in this review, so we'll talk about that later. But now let's quickly talk about the upper. So as I said, you've got this one piece stretchy material upper. It's like got a booty fit. It reminds me a lot of the Neo Vista, funnily enough. So if you like this upper, you'll probably like this one. There are some minor subtle changes. This one I think is a little bit roomier. And if you're somebody with a low volume foot, you may need to cinch your laces quite tight on this one to get a good lockdown. Luckily though, you've got this pillow here that you can actually use to really dial in those laces without getting any bite on the top of your foot. So that's a good move from Mizuno, adding that there. I wish more shoe companies would do that. In terms of the forefoot, like I said, decent volume, decent width. If you've got a very wide, I'd say probably about medium width. If you've got a very wide foot, you still might be okay with this because, as I said, this is a stretchy fabric that kind of molds to your foot shape. I guess what I'm saying is for people with wide feet, you can potentially give this a go and it might work for you. I've got quite a wide foot and it works, absolutely fine for me. Those with narrower feet, you might have to play around with the laces, cinching them in to get a good lockdown in this shoe. I got an absolutely superb lockdown, given that there's hardly any, well, there isn't any padding around the collar or at the heel. It's very loose, as you can see, heel counter. So all in all, you'd expect some movement, but it was particularly good in terms of lockdown for me. So I think if you get the right fit, and I think so that this is where the fit is important. If you get the right fit in this shoe, the upper will work. Particularly for those of us with kind of medium or wider feet, it'll really wrap around your foot and you'll get good lockdown. Those with narrower feet, you may have some issues there, but if you dial in the laces, play around with the laces, I think you'll be fine. So that's it upper. Really like this upper. I love it, just like I did with the Neo Vista. What I think though is this might even be better in the summer and the hotter months, because you can see these holes are quite pronounced here, so you get good aeration through the upper, as opposed to the Neo Vista. You can see the difference. Yeah, the holes are a lot smaller in this one. So I think Mizuno have taken on board what people were saying about this shoe, about how warm it was during the summer months, particularly, I guess, if you're in a hotter climate. And they've made this a bit more breathable, which is great. So all in all, if I had to rate the upper out of 5, I'd give it 5 out of 5. I love these stretchy knit uppers that just grab your foot and it all stays in place, and then you can just forget about it. You don't even notice you've got it on. It just feels almost like a sock around your foot, and that's the way I think uppers should be. Like the Primex Strung is an example of an upper where I think it shouldn't be like that, because that's always rubbing on my feet, making me think about the shoe when I don't want to be having to do that when I'm running. Okay, so that's the upper. 5 out of 5 for me. Outsole. So again, let's compare it with the Neo Vista. We have them both here. So similar sort of width. I'd say almost identical in terms of width. What the big difference is, the rubber's compound's pretty much the same as on the Neo Vista. So if you like the grip on this, you'll like the grip on this one. The big difference is this cutout here has gone away. So that's now foam. So there's very little cutout there. It's pretty much all foam. Which means actually you get less of that suction, that splaying when you land that you used to get with this shoe. You remember this shoe, particularly if you're a heavier person, it would do this. Okay, and that to some degree, I quite like that because it acts as a little bit of an extra grip and help with stability. But in this shoe, you obviously don't get that so much. It feels a bit more of a slap when you land. That said, it's very soft rubber they've chosen on purpose to amplify this kind of softer ride that this shoe has got. I think the grip is fine. I went over a lot of wet pavements today. It was handled them pretty well. I see this as a kind of tier 2 grip. So I think I see this as a better grip than you get in, say, the Neverblast 5. I think it's an improvement over that. But I don't think it's top tier. I don't think it's like as good as Puma grip or Continental or even the new grip that they've got in the Adidas Pro 4. I do think it's along the lines of like as good as the Hoka shoes like this yellow or the Mac X. It's around that kind of level. So if you're thinking about how good this grip is, yeah, it's tier 2. So it's not bad, but it's not the best. I went over, like I said, wet ground and it handled it fine today. Be interested to see how well it goes over frosty, slippy, icy surfaces. I suspect it will do okay. So I wouldn't worry so much about that. It will wear because it's soft rubber. The tread will wear, but actually I see it being fairly durable. There's quite a lot of rubber coverage, as you can see here. Right, so now we want to talk about the midsole. This is where it gets really interesting. So as I said, 40 millimeters heel, 34 in the forefoot, 6 millimeter drop. It doesn't feel like a 6 millimeter drop because you sink a little bit into the foam. So it feels weirdly, and it sounds weird for me to say this given it's got a lot of foam there still, but it feels a lot lower to the ground than a lot of the shoes that I've been wearing recently. And so you do get a weird sensation that you're getting ground feel in this shoe when, you know, you're probably not, but it feels like you are. And I think that's to do with how soft this foam is, in the sense that when you land, your feet and your toes will sink a little bit into the foam and you feel like you're gripping something, whereas you're gripping the foam, not the ground, but it feels almost like the ground, right? And I kind of like that because it feels like I've got a connection there, which I don't get with a lot of shoes these days, like the Hoka Skyward X, which I love. I wore that yesterday. Absolutely no ground feel. The Prime X Strung Original 2, absolutely no ground feel. That Light Strike Pro is actually quite firm. You know, so pretty much all the shoes you know, that I've been wearing recently, I don't feel much of a ground feel. I don't feel my toes doing much of work because the foam is quite firm. In this shoe, I feel like I am getting some kind of ground feel, even though I may not be. I feel a bit more connected to the ground. And I feel like my toes are actually able to do some work in this shoe, which I quite like actually. But those with toe mobility issues, this may not work for you because you will be putting some effort through those toes of yours, right? So if you've got issues there, you might look to get a firmer foam, a shoe with firmer foam. Equally, those with ankle issues, because this foam is soft, it invariably is going to move you left and right every now and again. There aren't massive sidewalls here to keep your foot locked in. This is a neutral shoe. It's definitely not a stable shoe in any shape or form. If you've got any stability issues in your running, I would avoid this shoe. For me, it works fine. I've had ankle problems in the past, but you know, I've been working really hard on the strength of my ankles. And when I did the 10 miler in this today, it was absolutely fine. I felt stable. You've got a large base to land on. You've got these sole flares, you can see there, mainly on the medial side, but you've got a little bit on the lateral side. So those that pronate a little bit, you've got a little bit of extra support there when you land, particularly if you're landing on your forefoot. Same with the heel, you can see you've got a bit of a sole flare here and here. So, and again, most of that, as you can see, is on the medial side. So that those that pronate inwards, you've got a little bit more of a support here in the heel. So I did do some heel striking in this shoe, and didn't feel too bad actually. So despite this little bit of a cutout here, it felt pretty stable when I heel striked. But it did feel really good when I was landing here on my forefoot. It felt a little bit less mushy than when I landed on the heel. A bit like with the Neo Vista, actually, the same sort of thing. Once you start going away from the heel in this shoe and going towards midfoot and forefoot, it feels so much firmer and so much more kind of responsive. And it's the same with this shoe. I feel like the more you land over here, the less mushy and the less sinking you're going to get, and the more of a kind of flowing ride you'll feel. So I did some strides in this. I upped the tempo and it performed really well. And that's contrary to a lot of the reviews I'm hearing that this is only a slow run shoe. I did not find that. I found when I picked up the pace, this shoe went with me. I wasn't fighting against the shoe. I wasn't sinking in so much in the shoe. In fact, I sunk in less as I got quicker. And as I put force through this foam, I got compression, but I got decompression. And so I didn't feel like I was stuck in the foam, which you can do in a lot of shoes. It reminded me a little bit, but less mushy, of the Nike Invincible, the early versions. So if you like the Nike Invincible shoe, you may like this shoe as well. You'll like the feel of it. You'll definitely like the softness of this foam. That was a former favorite of mine. That wasn't a stable shoe. This is not a stable shoe. So I'm going to keep warning you, everyone here, if you have stability issues, this is not the shoe for you. Look elsewhere. Look for something with firmer foam. But those that actually don't have stability issues, those that actually can get away with something a bit softer, you still got a fairly wide base to land on. So it's not one of these shoes that when you're running in, you feel like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? And one of these shoes, you have to be mindful of your foot strike all the time. I wasn't even thinking about my foot strike running in these. You know what I was thinking? I was thinking about that Marshmallow Man in Ghostbusters. Do you remember him? And that's what this midsole reminds me of, marshmallows, in a good way, in a nice, sweet and tasty way, as opposed to this mushy, squidgy mess you get when you warm them up. I absolutely loved the ride in this. I think I can see myself using this shoe for longer runs. I can see myself using this shoe when my legs are a bit beat up, like they are today after the 20 miler I did yesterday. I can see myself, like I said, going on longer runs and doing strides in this shoe because I can pick up the pace, doing hill work in this shoe. I could even do some tempo work in this shoe. But predominantly, I think I'm going to use this for my easy runs, my long runs where I just want extreme comfort and cushioning and a soft, nice ride and experience. So I guess you're kind of seeing that I really like this, and I think Mizuno have already cracked, brought out another really good shoe here. It is different to the Neo Vista, and let's talk about some of the differences. So if you own this shoe, there is still a reason to get this shoe. So A, there's no nylon plate, so it's softer. B, it's got supercritical TPU foam as opposed to supercritical EVA. This is a better foam. It's softer, more bouncy, more responsive. This is a good foam, and it worked with the geometry of the shoe. I always felt with the Neo Vista, it was the geometry that made this shoe work. With this shoe, it's definitely the foam that makes it work. It's got less of a rocker, as you can see there, than the Neo Vista. So you're more it's more about the foam in this shoe than the geometry. It's still got a nice geometry, you still get a nice roll forward, but I don't feel like the rocker's doing much of the work here. I feel like it's the bounce you get from the foam, if that makes sense. The uppers are very similar in both shoes. So if you like I said, if you like this upper, you'll like this upper. I've heard people say that didn't like this for being too soft. Why didn't they put a plate in this shoe, a nylon plate, to make it a bit more stable and less soft? Well, I think there's an obvious reason for that, is that this foam, this soft foam, will be used in the next version of the Neo Vista 2, or whatever they call it. And that shoe will have more of a stack. So that shoe, I'm sure, will be up at the 44, 45 millimeter stack height, and it will have the nylon plate in to make it more stable, be given the extra foam. So that for me is the reason why Mizuno didn't put a plate in this. They want to keep this separate, the two lines separate, and it makes sense, right? For the next Neo Vista, it's going to be max stack with this softer foam. They're going to need to put a plate in. So I feel that's the reason why they didn't do it. I don't feel like this needs a plate. In fact, I'm glad it hasn't got a plate. There's a low enough stack, and I know that sounds daft because it's still 40 millimeter, but it's low enough for you not to need a plate in this shoe. So a couple of caveats, like I said, stability issues, or if you're really heavy and you're putting a lot of force through, you might find this softer foam works against you a little bit. For those that don't know, I'm 5'9", 63 kg, so I'm not heavy. For me, this works really well. So if you're someone like me that's a lighter runner, I think you're going to love how nice and soft and responsive this foam is. If you like firmer shoes, though, you're not going to like this. It's pretty obvious to stay clear of this. If you want a firmer ride, you will not like this shoe. So what are the competition? What shoes is this in competition with? Well, there's two obvious shoes that I own that this shoe is in competition with. We have the Nova Blast, okay? So this is a wonderful shoe, and the fact that I'm even mentioning this in the same conversation, it says something about how much I like my first running this shoe. I think in terms of cushion, they've both got equal kind of cushioning. I think that this is 41 millimeters, this is 40. The real difference, though, this is a lot softer than this foam. This is still soft, but it has it's a little bit firmer, so it feels a little bit more stable, this shoe. So for those with stability needs but still want a reasonably soft ride, you might prefer this shoe. It's got more height pronounced sidewalls as well, the Nova Blast. So that is an option. Another option is obviously the More V5, New Balance More V5. Again, I think the main difference is this is even softer. So despite all this massive cushion you've got here, this is actually the softer feeling shoe. So this is absolutely, to be softer than this shoe, this is absolutely soft magic. I don't know why I said that, but I did. Soft magic, this shoe. And with that in mind, again, those that want a little bit more of a stable ride, you might veer towards the New Balance More V Fresh Foam X More V5. I feel like if we look at these shoes together in terms of stability, we are looking at maybe the More V5, then the Nova Blast, then this Neo Zen. If you're looking at comfort, I'm going to put the Neo Zen right up there at the top, then the More V5, then the Nova Blast. In terms of versatility, I think clearly Nova Blast is one of the most versatile shoes out on the market. More V5, then the Neo Zen, because it's only, I think, going to suit those without stability issues, those that like soft foam, those that aren't really heavy, those that don't put massive amount of weight and power through
so it's less versatile in that respect. In terms of speed, interesting one. It's so I'm actually going to say, and it's quite, I'm surprised by this, but I think first impressions, I feel like this shoe, the Neo Zen, is actually the quickest out of the three. I could pick up the pace far easier than I could in the More V5, for instance. It's a close call between the Nova Blast and this. I think they're quite similar, but I would just give it to this shoe. It felt, because of how bouncy and soft it is. And then finally, I guess, in terms of the general feel, how I like to run in the shoe, the upper and everything else, I think I will just go with the Nova Blast over the Neo Zen over the More V5. But all three are very comfortable rides, cushioned rides. So there's a comparison for you. If you bought any of those shoes, you'll be absolutely fine for your slow runs. This is a lighter shoe than all of those shoes. So this is 237 grams as opposed to 261 grams, as opposed to 310, I think, grams. Okay, so it's a lighter shoe, and you feel that. And that's why I feel like I could get more speed with this shoe, because it felt like I was running on marshmallows, on pillows, on clouds, or whatever you like to describe it. So to summarize, right, after all that talk, my first impressions: very fun, bouncy, soft ride, one which I can pick up the pace in. Love this new Energy Next foam, or NXT. This supercritical TPU, not EVA. I hope they use this foam in the Neo Vista coming up. I suspect they will, but put a nylon plate in. Absolutely love the upper. I think it's on a par with the Neo Vista upper. So if you like that upper, you'll like this. Midsole is fine as well, decent grip, not tier 1, tier 2, but pretty good. And all in all, absolutely loving the ride in this. I think this will suit people who obviously like soft foams. Like me, I like the Adidas, Adidas Pro 4, and that's got a softish foam. But I think, unlike that shoe, I think heel strikers will be okay in this shoe, because you don't get that splaying of the foam like you do in the Pro 4. But this shoe is definitely not for people who have stability issues, ankle issues, people who do not like soft foam, who like firmer foam. If you can hear my cats fighting, they seem to be fighting each other at the moment. That's the noise in the background. Sorry. And yeah, let me show you actually these nutters. Oi. What are you fighting for? Where's the other one? What are you fighting for? There you go. They're brothers, those cats, and they seem to like to scrap around a bit. I mean, I guess if I had a brother, I'd probably have a few play fights as well, right? But anyway, I digress. So they're my final thoughts on this shoe. They're my two cats. I'm giving this thumbs up. I love it. I know it's not going to be for everyone. I think the price is decent as well, at £129, £130. With a discount 10%, you're getting that, down at 100, 110, 112, whatever it is. And so, yeah, I think this is a great value shoe. Brilliant job by Mizuno. I think they are really coming to the fore when it comes to running shoes. And one which I'm going to do a hell of a lot of miles in, because it's a joy to run in. Anyway, hope that was good. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Before I go, if you have got this shoe and you like it or don't like it, please put in the comments what you like or don't like about the shoe. If you have got any more questions on the shoe, again, put it in the comments. Generally, if you want me to compare it with anything else or do a head-to-head, put it in the comments. But I think there's going to be a lot of questions around the suitability of this shoe, and we'll try and get some answers for you. that's all I want to say. This is actually goodbye now. I'll see you. Bye.